Around 1300 years ago, Nara was established as the capital of Japan. Perhaps you've heard of Nara's famous Great Buddha. But do you know which emperor produced it? Did you know that this emperor's prized possessions have been carefully protected through the ages, passed down to the present day as imperial treasures? In fact, these objects have been revered as imperial treasures for 1300 years. This group of precious artifacts, including the emperor's personal objects, are what we now call the Shōsō-in Treasures. The public is granted access to the Shōsō-in Treasures once a year for a short period of time at the annual exhibition of Shōsō-in Treasures. Let's enter the world of the Shōsō-in Treasures, thinking about their history and exploring their many wonders. Nara, home of the Great Buddha Hall of Todaishi Temple. To its northwest stands an enormous wooden storehouse. This structure is what we call today the Shōsō-in. It is a repository that is itself registered as a National Treasure of Japan and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The Shosoin repository has stored the Shōsō-in treasures for a period of nearly 1300 years, protected behind an imperial seal or chokufu that can only be opened with the emperor's permission. The Shōsō-in treasures include around 9,000 objects, many of which represents the evidence of cultural exchanges through the Silk Road trade. The white glass bowl is a glass vessel believed to have been produced in Persia. Even today, it is resplendent and pristine, lacking even a single chip. The 8-lobed bronze mirror, decorated on the back with mother-of-pearl inlay, has a luminous surface. Its ornate back shimmers with gems gathered from all over the world. In Tang Dynasty China, mirrors were produced that made use of turquoise from present-day Iran, amber from present-day Myanmar, and turban shells and other materials from southern China. These mirrors came to Japan from China, and many have been preserved at the Shōsō-in since the 8th century. The 5-stringed red sandalwood biwa lute with mother-of-pearl inlay, which is renowned for its camel motif, is the only extant 5-stringed biwa lute in the world. Alongside the many treasures brought to Japan from abroad are those produced in this country. In fact, the majority of the 9,000 objects in the Shōsō-in were made by Japanese. Nevertheless, they reflect continental culture and techniques. Many of the treasures have been preserved so well that they are as beautiful now as when they were first produced, despite the passage of time.
古代に成立したコレクションが、約9000点によって構成されておりますが、それらがほぼそのままの形で地上で伝えられたっていう例は世界広しといえども他にはないというふうに思っております。それに由来する保存状態の良さでありますとか、学術上の資料的な素晴らしさであるとかっていうのは随一のものであるというふうに考えております。
Now, let's travel back in time around 1300 years, all the way to the Nara period. In 8th century Nara, life was difficult. There were power struggles, famines, and epidemics. Emperor Shomu turned to the power of Buddhism. He set out to make this a Buddhist country, and he gathered bronze from throughout the nation to produce the Great Buddha. His consort, Empress Komyo, was by his side, supporting him in this endeavor. In 752, 9 years after he vowed to produce the Great Buddha, the statue was consecrated. Yet 4 years following its grand eye-opening ceremony, the emperor passed away. On the occasion of the memorial ceremony held to mark the 49th day after his passing, Empress Komyo made a donation of the departed emperor's most beloved possessions to the Great Buddha. This donation comprises the nearly 700 objects the Empress presented to the Great Buddha as offerings. Her donations are inventoried in the Record of the Nation's Rare Treasures, Kokka Chinpocho, an essential resource preserved among the Shōsō-in Treasures that conveys the names and origins of each item. The final words of the record grant us access to her feelings and intentions at the time. They read, "Just looking at these beloved possessions of the emperor fills me with sadness, so I present them as offerings to the Great Buddha." Now, let's turn to the building in which these and other treasures were passed down to the present day over the centuries since the collection was first established. The Shōsō-in Repository is an enormous wooden structure, a storehouse measuring 39 meters wide and 14 meters tall. Entering the building, we see that there are two stories. In the Meiji era, the interior was lined with shelves enclosed by glass doors. During the modern-day Showa era, the Shōsō-in Treasures were moved to a newly built concrete facility that could better protect them. The Tong-style wooden chests, known as karabitsu, that were produced during the Nara period to store the treasures, are all that remain in the original repository. The Japanese cypress used for the repository and the Japanese cedar used for the wooden chests are both woods that can maintain a relatively stable temperature and humidity. This had been borne out by the results of research studies measuring temperature and humidity levels undertaken over the years by the Office of the Shōsō-in Imperial Household Agency. Another reason that the treasures survive to the present day in their remarkable state of preservation is that they were stored behind an imperial seal. Without permission granted by the emperor to open the imperial seal or chokufu, no one could access the repository or the treasures it stored. Let's take a look at the ceremony held each fall to open this imperial seal as it is performed today. Every year, an envoy from the emperor is sent from Tokyo to open the imperial seal behind which the treasures are stored in the West Repository. This envoy presides over a special ceremony during which the imperial seal is cut open, granting access to the treasures for a limited period of time. The ceremony is held within the West Repository. When we say that the imperial seal or chokufu is ceremonially cut open, what do we mean? At the West Storehouse, there are double doors made of iron and wood. A large padlock tied with hemp rope keeps them shut. Encased in bamboo skin, there is a letter signed by the emperor. This is known as a goshinsho. Every year, the staff of the Office of the Shōsō-in Treasure House cuts the hemp rope tied around the padlock with scissors, releasing the bamboo skin encased letter with the emperor's signature. Firstly, the imperial envoy inspects the paper strip with the signature of former envoy from the previous year. Then they take the paper out from the bamboo skin. The envoy and the director of the Office of the Shōsō-in Treasure House briefly open the letter and inspect the imperial signature. In this way, they can confirm that no one has opened the imperial seal in the time since the previous year. Following their inspection, they enter the storehouse and check that the treasures are as they should be. So as to ensure that damage to the treasures is minimized, Following the opening ceremony of the Imperial Seal, the storehouse is open for a period of only 2 months. During this time, the office of the Shōsō-in Treasure House inspects all of the treasures stored behind the Imperial Seal. They use this occasion to examine the treasures and conduct research into their materials and techniques. Here, we see a treasure that was used as medicine. It is a fossil of an elephant tooth. Outside experts in zoology and other fields have been invited to participate in its study. Until the Edo period, Todaishi Temple managed the Shōsō-in under an earlier imperial seal system. Later in the Meiji era, administration of the Shōsō-in was transferred to the national government's jurisdiction. Annual inspections came to be conducted and research into the treasures became more regimented.
明治時代には東京の赤坂に漁物整理係という部署が置かれまして、そこで正倉院宝物の修理でありますとか模造制作というのが始まったということでございます。
In order to best make repairs to the treasures, starting in the Meiji era, their materials and techniques were studied comprehensively. And this study, in fact, encompassed the production of precise replicas. The reproduction project at the office of the Shōsō-in Treasure House moved into the new stage in 1972. These projects use findings from scientific analysis to recreate various treasures as they would have appeared at the time of their production. Such facsimiles revive all aspects of the materials and techniques comprising the originals when they were first made. In 2023, the Office of the Shōsō-in Imperial Household Agency set out to reproduce, for the first time, the glass objects. Aristocratic ornaments from the distant past, including the glass fish-shaped ornaments, are among the glass treasures that have been given new life through modern-day replicas. Various initiatives geared towards passing down the treasures preserved for 1,300 years to future generations are underway at the office of the Shōsō-in Treasure House. This office not only manages and protects the treasures, but it actively promotes knowledge into their importance through such efforts as the production of replicas and their public display. A selection of the treasures are displayed each fall at the annual exhibition of Shōsō-in Treasures, and the fruits of various research projects are often presented on this occasion as well. We hope that you will have the chance to experience the brilliance and the beauty of the Shōsō-in Treasures for yourself.